Hello there, World of Tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, World of Blitz, and in today's video, I'll be showcasing the Tier 9 Czech heavy tank, the TNH VZ 51, a vehicle that I actually haven't reviewed yet, as on my main account, I just skipped right up to the Tier 10 because I had enough XP to. However, on my free-to-play account, I don't have a lot of excess free XP, especially with the current event going on. It's really nice to be able to use my free XP on containers, which you can see I've already opened up 25 of. So I've really been grinding this entire line today just by playing boss mode, which has been an experience. Not the most enjoyable one, especially with double tuning gravity players, but it's still an experience that wasn't the worst. I was able to get to the Tier 9 today with a little bit of XP boosters, and I'm going to be reviewing the tank. Now, I've got basically the vehicle fully equipped. If you're grinding down this line, honestly, I wouldn't suggest to go for the engine or the tracks. The traverse speed makes your turn rate 4 degrees a second better, which is okay, but it's nothing crazy. And the engine barely changes anything. Makes your average speed go 1 better. Ooh. Honestly, save your 50,000 XP. Don't get the tracks, don't get the engine. Just get right to the VZ 55. Now, this tank features the same combat stabilization mechanic that the Tier 10 VZ 55 features, which is nice. Although the aiming time and dispersion on this gun are quite a bit worse than the VZ 55, which is weird because it has a less alpha at 420 rather than 470. Overall, it's an interesting mechanic, but I still don't know if I really like it all too much. A lot of the times when using a gun like this, it just doesn't feel all too comfortable with this mechanic because of the fact that the aiming time is still pretty dang poor. Now, up against us in this first battle, we have a 50 TP, AMX 5120, Contra Car 1 Mark II, T30, Tortoise, AMX CDC, and a Tiger 2. Okay, well, we can see the T30 is making his way right into the open, which allows me to get a pretty easy shell. Alright, and there goes the CDC into the dip. An interesting maneuver from the CDC, but apparently our medium is also right over here, being the Prog, so kind of a weird battle so far. The Tiger 2 decides to cross into the open like an absolute poob, which allows me to get a pretty easy shot in. You can see, unfortunately, nobody else on the team is shooting the Tiger, though, so you know what? I'll take advantage of it. We get another nice shot into the player, and we're already up to 1,300 damage. Okay, we got the T30 down low, the 50 TP's up top. There's not much we're really able to do right now, but we might be able to get a shell into the Contra Car. Oh, never mind. You can see that's a pretty good example there where the dispersion is still not great, even when you are fully aimed in with this combat stabilization. It really doesn't seem to help you all too much, but maybe the second shot will work better. Well, we're going to shoot at the T30. Pretty easy pen. Now, speaking about the armor of this tank, as we have been penned, it's pretty simple. The lower plate is terrible. If you get shot in the lower plate, literally at any angle, it's going to penetrate. And the upper plate, unlike the Tier 10s, is quite weak. You will be able to penetrate the upper plate literally with standard ammo if you're aiming on flat level with decent pen. And not only that, but the turret is also pretty dang tragic. If you have high pen APCR or even high pen AP, you can cut directly through the turret cheeks, no problem whatsoever. The spaced armor literally does nothing. So it's a bit unfortunate that the armor isn't incredible on this tank, especially because it doesn't have great mobility, it doesn't have great DPM, dispersion, or really anything going for it. To be honest, this tank just feels like a fairly unremarkable Tier 9 heavy, but I have been doing pretty well in it, averaging around 3,500 damage for 15 battles at this point, so it's been doing well. It's just not the most exciting or enjoyable tank to drive. So we can see the Contra Car, the majority of the enemy team is still chilling in front of us, and I'm trying to think of what I want to do here, because I did see the CDC behind us, and we're going to try and shoot this Tortoise. Aiming, there you go, we get a nice shot, and at this point, now that the CDC is trying to roll behind me, I don't want to get shot in the rear by medium while trying to deal with the heavies in the back at the same time. So I'm going to try and deal with the CDC, and apparently the CDC does not see me, so I'm able to get a very nice 408 roll into his tank. At this point, an average 420 alpha shell should, in theory, kill the CDC, but we could low roll it, so right now I'm just going to pretend like I'm going to chase the CDC, so he thinks I'm going to go for him. I should be unspotted at this point. We're going to pre-aim our shot. Fire! Really? 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 We bounce the CDC and hit it in the mantlet. Even shooting the CDC in the mantlet should not warrant a bounce. It's an AMX CDC. That was a little cringe, but hopefully, if I play my lucky stars right, yes, The CDC makes the mistake that I was hoping, drives into the open, and allows me to clear him. At this point, it is a 2 versus 3. The enemy team has 2 very healthy tanks, and 1 not-so-healthy 50 TP. Now, I'm going to try and just get the jump on one of these guys, because I haven't been spotted, so I'm going to poke this Contracaro really quickly, get a nice snap, he misses me, and back in the cover. We're up to 4,000 damage at this point, which is pretty solid. We got the 50 TP up top, and the Tortoise is now rushing the T95. There's not much I can do about this. Like, he's asking for help, but I don't feature enough DPM or armor to get into that front line to help him, especially because if I do, that Tortoise is just going to maul that guy, and by the time I try to do anything else, it'll be over. But thankfully, the T95 kills the enemy 50 TP before he dies, which means that now we are not in the worst situation, especially because the enemy Contracaro doesn't understand how armor works and decides to just fully expose his entire front armor. So we're up to 4,700 damage at this point. It's been a rather eventful battle, and nothing crazy has been put upon me, but this last part of the game is definitely going to be a bit challenging. Even though the Tortoise only has 790 health, it does have almost double my damage per minute, which means that for every shot I fire, it can essentially fire 2. So I don't want to put myself in the situation where that Tortoise can use its much better DPM. I'm going to back up and waste and bait as much time as possible. 3, 2, 1, and at this point, we have another shell loaded. Unfortunately, we do not have enough gun depression to cut through that Tortoise. So I'm going to back up and try and use the 7 degrees a bit better here, especially because the Tortoise has such a large, weak hatch. I should be able to take advantage of it. Let's load premium, aim at the hatch, and there you go. Very nice slap into the Tortoise. At this point, the player's only at 50 health. We've dealt 5,400 damage. And, yeah, the Tortoise is not going to kill us, especially when he bounces, hitting our gun. So we get the clear, and there you go. A pretty solid battle. 5,540 damage, 3 kills, and this is actually the first ace I've been able to achieve in the tank. As you can see, the tank is definitely nothing incredible. I probably could have done what I did here in an IS-8, an ST-1, or the majority of other Tier 9 heavies. But you can also see it's not bad. It gets the job done, it's got decent mobility, and the gun's decent, so not a bad first game at all to showcase for the VZ. Let's do one more battle, this time on Naval Frontier. Once again, another Tier 8 game. I did fight Tier 10s with this tank, and it's not awful. It's not great, to be fair. Tier 10s will butter through your armor like no problem whatsoever, which is definitely a bit of an annoyance. But your alpha's still plenty to even deal with the majority of heavies, and you've got plenty of mobility and gun depression. You're an all-around decent tank, so it doesn't really matter when you fight Tier 10s. It still does a pretty okay job. Up against us, we have an IS-8, Kampfpanzer 70, Waffenträger Panzer 4, AMX 1390, a MIL-1, M4190, and a T-44. Okay, well, we got the Emil who spotted us already. I'm going to be making my way over towards this side, although I don't see anything. Okay, well, let's get up, hull down towards base A. Now, normally I like to play with Supremacy. However, these 2 battles are not in Supremacy because of the fact that I'm trying to complete my missions to finish this month's Battle Pass. I'm already basically completed, and I want to get the, not only, I think it's 200 gold at the end of the Battle Pass, but I also want to get my hands on the research certificate for Tier 10, so I can get my hands on the Tier 10 on this line a lot easier. So far, we've done okay. We've done 460 damage, which is not too bad of a roll for our first shot. I see the T-44, double checking my area, and oh yeah, nice 520 into the rear of that T-44. Just like that, we've been able to get a pretty solid chunk of damage out. I'm going to side scrape on this rock, and the T-44 is not able to pen us. There you go, we get a nice pen back. Just like that, we're up to 1,300 damage, and that T-44 is absolutely crippled. Now, I'm not sure why that T-44 put himself in that position. That's a terrible spot to put a medium. I don't know why players do this either. Like, a lot of games nowadays, mediums like to just try to drive towards A, which is not a good idea at all. Just like that shot there. Not a great shot. Well, it wasn't badly aimed, it was just unfortunate that the dispersion on this vehicle really isn't all too impressive. We've got the 1390 in the back, who bounces us once, bounces us twice, and we got a nice pen into his vehicle. Not too bad at all. I don't really know how that 1390 was bouncing us, because as I said, the lower plate on this tank is a massive weak spot, but somehow the 1390 missed our lower plate both shells. Alright, well, we got the IS-8 in front of us. There you go. Nice shell into the IS-8. Reloading. Now, this IS-8, it was playing this battle on live stream, and essentially the general consensus was this IS-8 was drinking and driving, because You'll see. It's an interesting duel we have here. But as of right now, I'm gun blocking him because I know that gun blocking will give me a much higher chance of bouncing the shell. And there you go. We were able to gun block, and just like that, I am able to pen him. And, yeah, this is the part I was a little confused on the IS-8. Man just turns his turret sideways. Interesting. Yeah, and yeah. I mean, very interesting. And then he rams me and dies. I don't know. I'll take it. I'll take the free damage. I'll take the 3,500. At this point, that Emil was like, maybe I shouldn't drive up there. But that's not going to stop me from bonking him in the roof. Now we're up to 3,900. Okay, well, the Emil is right in front of us, and we can see the Kampfpanzer is doing a classic EU maneuver of screwing his team over by camping in the back. But as we've been over in the past, apparently, you shouldn't be punished for camping in the back because you can play the game however you want. So that Kampfpanzer can sit back there and cause his entire team a defeat, because that's fun, apparently. So we're going to make our way over to the side of the Kampfpanzer, and we're going to see if we can get a little bit of damage in. But as classic maneuvers do entail, he ran off the cliff, but that's fine. I mean, we just need the backup. He bounces me with a heat shell, which is honestly surprising and sad at the same time. We are up to 4,600 damage. We give him a little love tap, 4,779, and we load a premium shell into his turret. A big low roll, only 291, but you know what? We still did over 5,000 damage. So there you have it. This is the TNH VZ 51. It's a pretty solid tank overall. I wouldn't say it's incredible, but I will be willing to say that it is more enjoyable than the Tier 10. I didn't expect to like this tank, to be honest. Starting off the stream today, I really didn't like the tank, but after playing it for about 14 games or so, as I said, my statistics picked up pretty well. I'm going 80% with 3,500 average damage, which is pretty good overall. I think it's a fun tank. I think it's a unique vehicle, but I do kind of agree with a lot of people that either this tank should have had a double shot or some sort of different thing going for it. Right now, it's just kind of a worse IS-4. I don't know. Or not even a worse IS-4, but a worse ST1/IS-8. I'd rather drive either of those tanks. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.